It was an ordinary morning for Keanu Reeves. He was out for a peaceful walk in the woods near his home, a place he often retreated to when he needed a break from the hustle and bustle of fame. As he strolled along the familiar path, breathing in the fresh, crisp air, little did he know that his day was about to take an unexpected turn. Out of the corner of his eye, Keanu noticed movement, something small darting between the trees. He stopped and squinted, trying to make out what it was. To his surprise, a tiny bobcat, no more than a few months old, appeared from behind a bush. It was so close, its golden eyes staring directly at him, unafraid. Keanu stood still for a moment, unsure of what to do. The wild cat, normally known for its elusive nature, was now following him. Step by step, the bobcat mirrored his every move, staying just a few feet behind. At first, Keanu thought it was a fluke. Maybe the animal was just curious. But as the minutes passed, it became clear that this was no coincidence. The bobcat wasn't just walking beside him, it was following him, persistently. What could possibly be happening? Why was this wild creature, so far removed from human society, so fixated on him? Keanu couldn't shake the feeling that something far deeper and far more mysterious was at play. But before he could ponder any further, the bobcat let out a soft mewl, almost as if trying to communicate with him. Keanu froze. A chill ran down his spine as he realized this wasn't a random encounter. There was something very specific about this moment, and just like that, the mystery began. But here's the thing. Keanu had no idea just how much this seemingly innocent meeting would change his life. The unbelievable reason behind the bobcat's behavior would leave him, and you, utterly speechless. Before we dive deeper into this captivating journey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss the twists and turns this story is about to take. Stay with us, and let's see how Keanu Reeves and this little bobcat story unfolds. Keanu Reeves was no stranger to the spotlight. As one of Hollywood's most beloved actors, he had been in the public eye for decades, captivating audiences with roles in blockbuster films like The Matrix, John Wick, and Speed. But behind the action-packed roles and fame, Keanu was a man of quiet reflection, known for his humility and kindness. Born in Beirut, Lebanon, and raised in Toronto, Canada, Keanu's life had always been a blend of unexpected turns and hardship. His father, a drug addict, left when Keanu was just a boy, and his mother, a costume designer, raised him on her own. Despite the challenges of growing up without a father figure, Keanu found solace in the arts and later in the world of acting. His passion for storytelling and his deep empathy for others became defining traits. Keanu wasn't the typical Hollywood star. He preferred the quiet moments in life, spending time reading, listening to music, and, most notably, connecting with nature. He had always been drawn to the outdoors, escaping the whirlwind of fame by taking long walks in the woods or hiking through the mountains. He felt at peace when surrounded by trees and wildlife, far away from the noise of paparazzi cameras and the pressures of celebrity. It was on one of these walks, far from the chaotic world he knew, that Keanu found himself face to face with the small bobcat. But to understand why this encounter was so significant, we need to delve into Keanu's deep connection with animals and nature. For years, Keanu had supported various wildlife conservation efforts, donating large sums to organizations that helped protect endangered species. His compassion extended far beyond humans, as he understood the fragile balance of life on Earth. Despite the fame, he never sought attention for his charitable acts. He simply loved animals, and they, in turn, seemed to sense his kindness. But this encounter with the bobcat was different. It wasn't just a random animal crossing his path. It was a creature that seemed to recognize something within him, something Keanu had yet to understand. As he continued his walk with the bobcat following closely behind, Keanu began to wonder if there was more to this than just an oddity of nature. Could there be a deeper, mystical reason for the bobcat's behavior? The possibility lingered in his mind, but he wasn't quite sure what it meant just yet. Keanu had always believed in the power of the universe, and he couldn't ignore the sense that something significant was unfolding. Little did he know the journey he was about to embark on would reveal a surprising truth, one that would forever change his perspective on life and his relationship with the world around him. But what was it? What could possibly connect him to this wild, untamed creature in such a profound way? Keep watching to discover the unbelievable truth behind this extraordinary encounter. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. As the days passed, Keanu couldn't shake the feeling that the little bobcat wasn't just following him by chance. Every morning, without fail, it appeared at the edge of the woods waiting for him. Sometimes it was just a fleeting shadow in the trees, but other times it would boldly trot right up to him, its golden eyes locked onto his. Keanu began to feel a strange connection forming, a connection that felt deeper than a mere curiosity. At first he shrugged it off as just a coincidence. Maybe the bobcat was just trying to find food, or perhaps it had lost its way and was simply following someone it felt safe with. But the more time he spent with the bobcat, the more he realized this was no ordinary animal encounter. It seemed as though the bobcat was deliberately seeking him out. There was something almost human about its behavior, a knowing that unnerved him. The first sign of tension came one evening when Keanu decided to take a different path during his usual walk. He wanted to test if the bobcat would follow him, just to see if it was truly attached to him, or simply wandering nearby. As he walked along the new trail, the bobcat showed up, trotting confidently beside him. But something was off. It didn't seem content just walking behind him anymore. The bobcat was agitated, its tail twitching, ears flicking at every sound in the distance. Keanu's steps slowed as he looked down at the creature. "What is it, little one?" he murmured softly. Not expecting an answer, suddenly the bobcat darted ahead, disappearing into the dense underbrush. Keanu stood frozen for a moment, unsure of what had just happened. He cautiously followed the animal, heart pounding. This wasn't just a curious creature anymore. It seemed to be searching for something. Or perhaps someone. Keanu's mind raced. Was the bobcat in danger? Had something happened to it, or was it simply trying to communicate with him? He couldn't deny the mounting sense of urgency inside him, like a deep, primal instinct telling him to follow, to understand, to help. But what could he do? He wasn't a wildlife expert, just a man who loved the outdoors. Still, something inside him urged him to keep going. The bobcat led him deeper into the woods, further than Keanu had ever ventured before. The air grew thick with tension as they neared an area Keanu didn't recognize, an abandoned cabin hidden beneath a canopy of overgrown trees. As Keanu stood at the edge of the clearing, the bobcat stopped and turned toward him, eyes wide with an almost pleading expression. It meowed softly, its tail flicking nervously. Keanu had no idea what was going on, but the feeling that something was terribly wrong weighed heavily on him. What was the bobcat trying to show him? Why had it led him here? He could feel the stirrings of something much larger than a simple wildlife encounter, a mystery that was begging to be unraveled. But the most unsettling part? Keanu wasn't the only one watching. From the shadows of the cabin, a pair of eyes watched Keanu and the bobcat, hidden in the darkness, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. What was happening here? And why did Keanu feel like he was about to uncover a secret that had been buried for years? The tension was thick in the air, and Keanu knew one thing for sure. The journey ahead would change everything. Don't go anywhere. There's much more to this story than meets the eye. Hit subscribe to follow along with Keanu as he uncovers the truth behind the bobcat's strange behavior, and leave a comment letting us know what you think is going to happen next. The tension in the air was palpable as Keanu stood in the clearing, his heart racing. The bobcat's nervous gaze remained fixed on the abandoned cabin. There was something about this place, something that felt off. Keanu felt a cold shiver run down his spine, but his curiosity overpowered his hesitation. This strange connection he felt to the little bobcat was too strong to ignore. Without taking his eyes off the cabin, Keanu took a step forward, the crunch of leaves beneath his boots echoing in the silence. The bobcat, still a few feet ahead of him, let out a quiet growl as if urging him to move carefully. Keanu couldn't help but wonder, what could possibly be inside this forgotten cabin that would cause such a reaction from an animal known for its instinctive wariness of humans? He continued to walk toward the cabin, each step slower than the last, the air growing thicker with a sense of foreboding. As he reached the cabin's threshold, Keanu hesitated. The cabin looked abandoned, its wooden walls rotting and covered in vines, but there was something strangely compelling about it, like it was waiting for him. The Bobcat darted forward, slipping inside through a gap in the door which hung ajar. Keanu, now more determined than ever, followed. Inside, the cabin was dark, with only slivers of light breaking through the grime-covered windows. The wooden floor creaked beneath Keanu's feet as he stepped further inside. Dust particles swirled in the beams of sunlight, adding to the eerie atmosphere. The Bobcat was nowhere in sight, but Keanu knew it had to be here. He called out softly, "Hey, little one, where are you?" As if on cue, the Bobcat appeared from behind a stack of old crates, its golden eyes shining brightly in the dim light. It was staring at something Keanu hadn't yet noticed. Keanu's gaze followed the Bobcat's, landing on a corner of the room. There, half hidden behind a rotting wooden chest, was something that made his heart skip a beat. A faded photograph. The photo, though worn, clearly depicted a young Keanu in the arms of a woman he didn't recognize. His mind spun, trying to piece together the puzzle. How could this be? What was his image doing in an old abandoned cabin in a place he had never seen before? He picked up the photo carefully, his hands trembling slightly. The Bobcat sat beside him, watching intently, as if waiting for Keanu to make a connection. As Keanu examined the photograph, he realized there was a note scrawled. On the back, barely legible but unmistakable, "Find your way back home." Keanu's heart raced as a flood of emotions washed over him. A sense of déjà vu washed over him, but his mind couldn't make sense of it. He had no memory of this woman, no memory of this cabin. Yet, the photo seemed to suggest that this was something from his past, a past that had been lost to time. "Find your way back home," Keanu repeated softly to himself. But what did it mean? Was this some kind of message for him? Before he could dwell on the note for too long, the Bobcat's soft growl interrupted his thoughts. It was alert, focused on the far corner of the cabin. Keanu turned toward where the Bobcat was looking, and his breath caught in his throat. There, in the shadows, was an old wooden chest, its lock rusted but still intact. The sight of it sent a surge of unease through Keanu's chest. He felt the weight of the moment, the feeling that whatever was inside the chest held the answers he so desperately sought. But there was a nagging feeling deep within him that someone was waiting for him to open it. Keanu glanced back at the Bobcat, whose eyes seemed to plead with him. Something told him that this wasn't just about the chest. It was about understanding something much deeper, something that had been hidden from him for a long time. Maybe this was the moment he had been unknowingly preparing for. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward and knelt before the chest, his hands shaking slightly as he reached for the lock. The Bobcat remained close by, watching with an almost knowing look. Keanu couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't just unraveling a mystery, he was stepping into a story that was already written. A story that involved both him and this wild creature in ways he could never have imagined. As the lock gave way with a quiet click, Keanu slowly lifted the chest's lid, holding his breath. Inside, he found something even more unexpected than he could have ever imagined. A clue that would change everything he thought he knew about his life, about the Bobcat, and about the world itself. But what was inside? And how would it lead Keanu to the truth? Stay tuned, because this mystery is far from over. Hit subscribe and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think Keanu will find next? The chest creaked as Keanu slowly lifted its heavy lid. He could feel his pulse quickening, his body tense with anticipation. Inside, resting gently on a bed of old velvet fabric, was an object so out of place yet so deeply connected to the strange pull Keanu had been feeling ever since he encountered the Bobcat. It was a small, delicate pendant, an antique, intricately carved piece of jewelry that shimmered faintly in the dim light of the cabin. Keanu's fingers trembled as he picked it up. The pendant was in the shape of a heart, but what struck him more was the small engraving on its surface. It was barely visible, worn down with age, but Keanu could just make out the letters. Home. wave of shock washed over him as the realization hit him like a tidal wave. This wasn't just a random object. This was a piece of his past, a past that he had no memory of. Yet, somehow, this pendant was tied to it. He could feel it in his bones. His heart raced, and for the first time he felt a deep connection to something far beyond this moment. As Keanu held the pendant, the bobcat, who had been sitting quietly by his side, let out a soft, almost mournful mew. It was as if the animal knew this was the turning point, the moment when everything would change. Keanu looked down at the bobcat, his eyes filled with a mixture of confusion and realization. He could sense that this was no ordinary encounter. The bobcat wasn't just guiding him, it was reminding him of something lost, something buried deep within him. The words on the back of the photograph echoed in his mind, "Find your way back home." Keanu's throat tightened as the weight of the message settled on his shoulders. Was this about his family, his past? But why couldn't he remember it? Why did everything feel so familiar, yet so distant at the same time? The bobcat stood up, its tail twitching and padded toward the far wall of the cabin. It scratched at the wood, as if signaling to Keanu that there was more to uncover. Keanu stood up, the pendant still clutched in his hand, and followed the bobcat to the wall. There, in the shadows, was an old faded map pinned to the wall. The map, though worn and torn at the edges, clearly marked a trail that led to a place deep in the forest, somewhere Keanu had never seen before. He studied the map, trying to make sense of it. But it wasn't just the trail that caught his attention. No, it was the location marked at the end of the path. The words written above it were clear, yet they struck him like a thunderclap. Home. Keanu's breath caught in his chest. The map, the pendant, the photograph, it was all starting to connect. This wasn't just about an animal following him. This was about a journey to find something he had lost long ago, something that was waiting for him in the very heart of the forest. He looked down at the bobcat, who was now sitting by his feet, its eyes locked onto him, almost as if waiting for him to make a decision. Keanu felt his heart race. The bobcat had led him here, to this moment of revelation, but now the true test was before him. Would he follow the path that the map outlined? Would he risk everything to uncover the truth behind his past, even if it meant facing something he was not prepared for? Without thinking, Keanu tucked the pendant into his pocket and looked back at the bobcat. "Let's do this," he whispered, a sense of determination rising within him. The bobcat's eyes seemed to gleam with understanding, and with one last soft mew, it trotted toward the door, waiting for Keanu to follow. The weight of what was at stake hung heavy in the air as Keanu stepped outside the cabin, ready to embark on the journey that would reveal everything. The truth behind the bobcat's mysterious behavior, the secrets of his forgotten past, and the reason he had been chosen to uncover it all. The forest seemed to open up before him, as if it was welcoming him back to something that had been lost for far too long. Keanu knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of purpose, a sense that everything in his life had led him to this moment. But what would he find at the end of the trail? And how would this journey change him? There's more to come. The answers are waiting. Hit subscribe and stay with us as Keanu takes the next steps on this extraordinary journey. What do you think will happen when he follows the map? Let us know in the comments. Keanu followed the bobcat deeper into the forest, the trees growing denser as the path wound its way through the wilderness. The air felt different now, charged with an electric anticipation. Every step felt like a step back in time, as if the forest itself was whispering secrets long forgotten. The sounds of the outside world faded as they moved deeper into the woods, replaced by the soft rustle of leaves and the occasional crack of a branch underfoot. The bobcat, true to its mysterious nature, moved swiftly and silently through the underbrush. Keanu, determined to keep up, found himself wondering just how far the bobcat had led him on this journey, and if the path would truly lead him to the answers he sought. As they approached a small clearing, the trees parted to reveal something extraordinary, a secluded grove bathed in soft golden light. In the center of the grove stood a large stone, weathered by time but still standing tall, its surface etched with symbols Keanu didn't recognize. The bobcat stopped at the base of the stone, its eyes fixed on it, as if waiting for Keanu to take the final step. Keanu approached the stone, his heart pounding. He could feel the weight of its significance. This was it, the moment he had been unknowingly preparing for. The answers were just within reach, and he could feel that the mystery surrounding the bobcat, the pendant, the photograph, and the map was all converging here. He reached out to touch the stone. The moment his fingers made contact with the cold surface, a rush of memories flooded back to him, overwhelming his senses. Faces, places, and emotions that he had long buried under the weight of his past came rushing back in a vivid wave. The image of the woman from the photograph suddenly became clear, his mother. But there was more. The bobcat wasn't just an animal. It was a guide, a guardian of sorts, sent to help him remember what he had lost. Keanu stumbled back, breathless. He had forgotten everything, the love of his mother, the connection he had once felt to the world around him, the sense of home he had lost when he was too young to understand. But here, in this sacred space, everything had come rushing back. This was his legacy, his past, his true home. The bobcat meowed softly, drawing Keanu's attention back to it. The animal nuzzled his hand gently, a gesture that seemed to reassure him. It had led him here, and now it was time for Keanu to embrace the truth. He looked at the bobcat, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered. The bobcat, as if understanding, gave a final soft purr before turning and disappearing back into the forest, leaving Keanu alone in the clearing. Keanu stood there for a long while, the weight of everything settling in his chest. The forest was quiet now, save for the faint rustling of leaves in the breeze. He had come to realize that this journey, though filled with mystery and unexpected twists, had been about much more than just uncovering his past. It had been about rediscovering himself, about reconnecting with a piece of his soul that he had long forgotten. As he gazed at the stone once more, Keanu understood that the pendant, the photograph, the map, and the bobcat, they had all been signs. Signs that he needed to remember, to heal, and to embrace the love and connection he had once known. The journey had been difficult, but it had led him to a profound understanding. No matter how far we wander or how much we forget, there will always be something that calls us home. And sometimes that call comes in the most unexpected forms. Keanu took a deep breath, feeling the peace of the forest settle around him. His journey had come full circle, and though there were still many unanswered questions in the world, he finally had one thing clear. He had found his way back home. The lessons learned from this incredible adventure would stay with him forever, guiding him through whatever came next in life. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the grove, Keanu took one last look at the path he had traveled. The bobcat had led him here, but the real journey had been one of self-discovery. And as he turned to leave the grove, he couldn't help but smile. It wasn't just about the answers, it was about the journey itself, the people, the animals, and the memories that shaped who he was. He had learned that true home wasn't just a place, it was a feeling, and he had finally found it. Wow, what a journey. Keanu's adventure with the mysterious bobcat has led him to answers, self-discovery, and a deeper connection with his past. What did you think about this incredible twist? How do you feel about Keanu's journey of rediscovery? If you were in his shoes, would you have followed the bobcat to uncover your own hidden truths? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit subscribe to stay tuned for more stories like this one. We'd love to hear where you're watching from, so leave a comment and tell us your thoughts. It looks like we've reached the end of the story. Keanu has gone through a profound emotional journey and found the peace he was searching for. The questions surrounding his past have been resolved, and the mystery has come full circle. If you're looking for more stories, twists, or want to explore different journeys and characters, let me know. I'd be happy to create a new tale or dive into something else you're curious about. Thanks for following along with Keanu's journey. Keanu stood at the edge of the clearing, his mind swirling with the weight of the discoveries he had just made. The pendant in his pocket, the photograph in his hand, and the ancient symbols carved into the stone, all of it had led him here, to this moment of profound realization. But there was something still tugging at him, an unspoken urge that wouldn't let him rest. He had come this far, uncovered so much, but it felt like there was more to the story, more that was still hidden, waiting to be revealed. The bobcat, who had been his guide through this extraordinary journey, had left him in this quiet grove, but Keanu could feel that the animal's presence was still with him, as if the bobcat was silently urging him to take the next step, to act on the knowledge he had gained. But what was the next step? Keanu's thoughts drifted back to the note behind the photograph. Find your way back home. It wasn't just about going back to a physical place. It was about reconnecting with something deeper, something he had lost, not just in memory, but in his very soul. And now, standing here in the forest, surrounded by the mysteries of his past, he realized that he couldn't ignore it any longer. There were still unanswered questions. There were still people to meet, connections to make, and a story to finish. His journey wasn't over. It was only just beginning. Keanu turned toward the path leading out of the grove. The forest was alive with the soft hum of nature, but there was a quiet urgency in the air. The world felt vast and full of possibility. The bobcat may have led him to the answers about his past, but there were bigger questions now. What was the next chapter of his life going to look like? What would he do with the knowledge and the sense of purpose he had gained here? I need to make a difference, Keanu muttered to himself, almost as if he was trying to convince himself. I need to take action, for myself, for everyone I care about. With a deep breath, he set off down the winding path, his resolve firm. The next step was clear. He needed to share what he had learned, help others who might be searching for answers, just like he had been. The pendant, the bobcat, the symbols. They all spoke of something greater, a truth that could change not only his life, but the lives of others. Keanu's journey was far from over. He had a new mission now, to find those who had been affected by the same mysteries that had haunted him for so long. He had to find his way back to the people who mattered, people he could help, people who would benefit from the lessons he had learned. As he walked deeper into the forest, his heart swelled with determination. The bobcat's message had been clear, and now Keanu understood it. He couldn't keep this knowledge to himself. The world needed to know. His home wasn't just a place, it was a community, a group of people waiting to be found, waiting to reconnect just like he had. Keanu paused for a moment and looked up at the sky. The sun was setting, casting a soft orange glow over the trees. He could feel the weight of what lay ahead, but he also felt a sense of peace. The journey had taught him everything he needed to know. Home is where the heart is. And for him, that meant finding his true purpose, his calling, and using it to help others. As the forest embraced him, Keanu made a silent promise to himself. He would never forget what he had learned here. He would take action, not just for the past, but for the future. He would share his story, offer hope, and most importantly, remind others that no matter how lost they may feel, there is always a way back home. What an emotional journey, right? Keanu's discovery didn't just stop at finding his past. It sparked a sense of purpose that's going to drive him forward into the next chapter of his life. It's a reminder that our journeys aren't just about looking back. They're about using what we've learned to move forward and help others along the way. But now we want to hear from you. What do you think Keanu's next step will be? Will he find others who are lost like he was? Or will he uncover even more unexpected truths? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe. We've got more twists and turns ahead, and we want you to be there with us. Where are you watching from? Share with us and let's keep the conversation going. Keanu's steps quickened as he walked through the forest, the once peaceful landscape, now heavy with the weight of his decision. The call to action had ignited something inside him, a fierce determination that he hadn't felt in years. As he continued down the winding trail, he realized that his journey was no longer just about discovering the truth of his past. It was about forging a new path, one that would not only heal him, but also connect him with others who might be on the same journey. For the first time in a long time, He felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. But even with his newfound sense of purpose, there was an underlying tension in his chest. What if he wasn't ready? What if the next step was more than he could handle? Just as these doubts began to creep in, Keanu emerged from the forest and into a small, quaint town. The streets were quiet, with only a few people moving about. But there was something comforting about the peacefulness. It was the type of place Keanu had never imagined he would find himself in, but here he was. He paused at the edge of the town square, scanning his surroundings. The memories of his past were still fresh, the sense of home still lingering in his heart. The pendant he carried felt warm against his chest, as if it were guiding him, urging him forward. As he wandered through the town, Keanu's eyes caught sight of a familiar face in the distance, someone he hadn't seen in years. It was a woman, standing near the edge of a small cafe, looking down at a stack of papers. For a moment, Keanu thought it was just a trick of the light. But as the woman looked up and their eyes met, Keanu felt his heart skip a beat. It was Maya, his childhood friend, someone he had lost touch with after everything had fallen apart. The last time he saw her, they had been inseparable, but life had pulled them in different directions. Now here she was, standing just a few feet away as though fate had intervened to bring them together once again. Keanu hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to approach her. His heart raced as memories of their shared past flooded back, long walks through the woods, late-night talks, and dreams of a future they had once imagined together. But then, just as he was about to step forward, Maya glanced over and smiled, her eyes lighting up with recognition. "Keanu?" she asked, her voice soft but filled with wonder. "Is it really you?" Keanu's throat tightened as he nodded. "Maya, it's been so long." Without another word, Maya closed the distance between them, wrapping her arms around him in a warm embrace. Keanu could feel the weight of the years falling away as he held her, the connection between them instantly rekindled. For a moment, nothing else mattered. The journey, the mystery, the Bobcat. It all faded into the background, replaced by the warmth of a long-lost friendship. After a few moments, Maya pulled back, her eyes searching Keanu's face. "You look different," she said, a mix of curiosity and concern in her voice, like you've been through something. Keanu smiled softly, feeling the weight of his journey settle in his chest. "I have," he admitted. "I've been on a journey to find myself, Maya, to find what's been missing for so long." Maya's expression softened and she nodded, as if she understood exactly what he meant. "I always knew you had something special inside you, Keanu. You've always been searching for something more." Keanu looked down at the pendant in his hand, feeling its weight again. "I think I'm starting to understand what that something is." Maya's eyes widened as she noticed the pendant. She reached out and gently took it from his hand, her fingers tracing the intricate carvings on the surface. It looks familiar," she said softly. "Where did you get it?" Keanu took a deep breath, his mind racing. "I think it's part of something much bigger, Maya. Something I can't fully explain yet, but I know it's tied to my past, and to you." Maya's brow furrowed and she met Keanu's gaze. "What do you mean? What's going on, Keanu?" Keanu looked at her, the truth of it all beginning to settle in his heart. He wasn't alone anymore. Maya, the people in this town, and the connections he was about to rebuild, they were all part of this journey. The pieces of his past weren't just his to carry anymore. They belonged to everyone who had been affected by the same mysteries he had faced. "I've been following a path, Maya," Keanu said, his voice steady with purpose. "And I think it's leading me to something important. I can't do this alone anymore. I need your help." Maya's face softened with understanding. "Of course, Keanu. Whatever you need, I'm here for you." Wow, what a moment. Keanu's reunion with Maya is just the beginning of what's sure to be an incredible next chapter. But now, it's your turn. What do you think is going to happen next? How do you think Maya will play a role in Keanu's journey? Will they be able to uncover even more mysteries together? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in Keanu's story. And be sure to share this with your friends. Let's keep this conversation going. Where are you watching from? We'd love to hear from you. Keanu stood there with Maya, the weight of everything he had discovered slowly sinking in. The Bobcat, the pendant, the photograph, the map. It had all led him to this point. But now, with Maya standing beside him once more, he realized that the truth he had been searching for wasn't just about his past. It was about what he could build for. The future and who he could build it with. Maya gently placed her hand on Keanu's arm, breaking him from his thoughts. "You're not alone anymore, Keanu," she said softly. "We'll figure this out together." Keanu looked into her eyes, a flicker of hope lighting up in his chest. He had spent so many years wandering alone, lost in his own pain and uncertainty. But now he wasn't lost. Not anymore. The road ahead still felt uncertain, but with Maya's support, Keanu knew he could face whatever came next. Together, they would uncover the secrets of the pendant, the stone, and the messages the Bobcat had delivered. And maybe, just maybe, they would find out what the true purpose of this strange journey was. Keanu took a deep breath, feeling the calm of the town settle around him. He could see the small cafe in the distance, the hustle and bustle of people going about their day, and he felt a strange sense of peace. He had come full circle. The tea. Mystery was no longer just something he had to solve. It was a part of him, and it had shaped him into the person he was now. "I'm ready," Keanu whispered, his voice filled with conviction. With a final glance at the pendant in his hand, he placed it in his pocket, knowing that the answers it held weren't just about the past, but about the future. The future that he was about to shape side by side with Maya, and with a new sense of purpose. Together they would figure out the next steps, and maybe along the way they'd help others who had been searching for their own truths. The Bobcat's message was clear now. The journey wasn't just about the destination. It was about the connections we make along the way. As Keanu and Maya walked down the street side by side, the sun began to set in the distance, casting a warm, golden glow over the town. Keanu felt lighter than he had in years, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He was no longer running from his past. He was embracing it, and in doing so, he was finally embracing his future. The Bobcat, once a mysterious guide, had given him more than just answers. It had shown him the power of connection, the importance of reaching out for help, and the strength that came from facing the unknown with someone by your side. As Keanu looked at Maya, her hand gently resting on his, he knew that no matter what the future held, he wasn't alone anymore. The path was still unclear, but together they could face it, and as they walked forward, a new chapter of their lives began, one filled with possibility, hope, and the strength of the bonds they had. Rediscovered, Keanu and Maya's journey has come full circle, and the final revelation is here. But what do you think the future holds for them? Do you think they will uncover more mysteries, or will they find a new way to move forward and help others who've been on the same journey? We'd love to hear your thoughts and theories. Leave a comment below, and let's keep the conversation going. If you're excited for what comes next, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on more twists and turns in this incredible story. Where are you watching from? Share with us in the comments. Let's connect and see how far this story can go.